It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com. And get the podcast of this show by searching for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. Hit subscribe. Well, today was the day where fired LA Fire Chief Kristen Crowley got to make her case in front of the city council as to why she wanted to appeal her firing from Mayor Karen Bass. Spoiler alert, she lost 13-2. 13 members of the LA City Council voted to side with Mayor Karen Bass. And I want you to remember that as you listen to what Kristen Crowley had to say. If you remember when Karen Bass had that press conference on a Friday morning with, for some reason, Hugo Soto Martinez and Marquise Harris Dawson, she had three big reasons why she needed to fire Kristen Crowley. She claims that Kristen Crowley never told her about the wind, which is probably the most ridiculous statement in 2025. She claims that Kristen Crowley sent home 1,000 firefighters on a day that was real windy, and she claims that Kristen Crowley refused to do an after-action report, a sort of fall on your sword kind of report. Well, Kristen Crowley had refutes for every single one of those allegations, and it did not matter. Now, of course, the mayor has the authority to fire a fire chief for no reason, but Karen Bass didn't fire Kristen Crowley for no reason. She gave three very specific reasons, and it turns out they're all bullcrap. Let's listen to what Kristen Crowley had to say today in front of the LA City Council, where only two members defended her.
Over my 25-year career, in all of the ranks that I've held, I have seen our fire department struggle from year to year with limited funding, staffing, and resources.
See, this is the kind of stuff she actually got fired for. She talked out of turn and she said the budget was cut, even though the budget was cut. Even though they were cut positions for mechanics, it did not matter. The fact that she said that and didn't just thank Karen Bass for her leadership means that she's got to go. Because the fire chief serves at the pleasure of the mayor and not for any other reason but for the mayor to look good. Not to do her job, not to advocate for her employees or keep the county safe or keep the city safe. Her job is to make Karen Bass look good. And as long as she wasn't making Karen Bass look good, she had to go. It is such disgusting, blatant retaliation. But apparently this is how it works in the city of Los Angeles. You speak up and you get out of there.
We are past the point of sustaining our services without compromising public safety and the safety of our firefighters. For nearly 3 years, as the fire chief, I have submitted realistic budget requests that were carefully crafted based on data, reports, analysis, and recommendations from outside independent agencies that show just how understaffed and under-resourced the LAFD is.
And we're at a time where the calls for the LAFD have been more than ever. Kristen Crowley, famously, when she got appointed to this job, told the press that half of the fires they respond to are homeless encampments. Could be 16 a day. But of course, do we want to do anything about the homeless encampments, Karen Bass? No, we want to put a bunch in hotels, except they still go out to the encampments during the day to get high. And so the risk of fire is still there. Let's not forget, part of the reason certain budgets had to be cut, outside of the fact that the city was in a budget deficit, is Karen Bass bankrupted the city with her homeless plans that did nothing.
Since 2010, there's been a 55% increase in overall calls for fire and emergency services, with fewer firefighters providing those life-saving services.
I think that 55% is the homeless.
And yes, the LAFD is half the size we should be regarding the firefighter or paramedic positions. Lack of long-term investments in the LAFD.
She has no reason to exaggerate right now. Like, there's no reason for her to be exaggerating. We're half the size what we should be.
And injuries to our firefighters. We know that our firefighters are asked to do more with less every single day.
And in fact, in many jurisdictions, we want firefighters to be the ones responding to mental health calls because the cops don't want to. That's what's going on in Northern California, and you know that's coming here.
When we fail to take care of our firefighters, we fail to take care of our communities. I do believe that there is a path forward, one that finds a way to keep our communities safe by investing in long-term strategies to build out the LAFD the right way.
And it's going to be an interesting budget session because you know there's going to be a lot of people actually paying attention to where our money goes and to how much of it our money is not going towards the fire department. And sure, the defund the police crowd will point to the LAPD budget, which is also essential. But they will point to all these other departments that are so radically underfunded. And I think it's time to look at what are these other departments and are they necessary? Because I can tell you what's necessary in a city: police and fire.
Through your leadership, every single person around this horseshoe, through your leadership.
By the way, I just got to point this out. Just a personal preference. People need to stop saying at LA City Council on either side of the dais around the horseshoe like it's something important. It's a dumpy building that they should sell and everyone should work remotely.
The support of our...
If you ever smelled LA City Hall, you know how awful it is down there.
The support of our amazing communities that we love to serve, and the continued dedication and commitment and sacrifice of our firefighters, I am certain, deep down in my heart, that we can find a way to fund and support the LAFD now and into the future.
I would certainly hope so. But then again, after this impassioned speech, 13 members voted to throw her under the bus in honor of Karen Bass.
Next.
Here we go. Here's the good stuff, everybody. Because Kristen Crowley, I think, knew going into this appeal, there was no way she was getting her job back. She did not have the support for that, unfortunately. But she knew she had to correct the record in the most public forum possible. And I got to say, this was going on live while I was doing the John Phillips show. And luckily, she started speaking about 10 minutes before noon, so I started rolling on it so we could play it when it was happening. But we had Channel 5 on the TV up in my studio. They carried this whole thing live. When's the last time a city council meeting was carried live on television? People got to see in real time the now former fire chief dismantling all of Karen Bass's lies. Because Karen Bass made a whole bunch of nonsensical allegations that can be picked apart easily. And this was the person to do it. Karen Bass is not trustworthy. Karen Bass will throw you under the bus for the dumbest reasons possible, including, she didn't tell me it was going to be windy. By the way, you know what we saw this morning? That Karen Bass's own staffers were warned by multiple agencies about the wind. So if Karen Bass didn't know about the wind, she either did know about it and is lying about it, or her staffers were so afraid of telling her she couldn't go to Ghana that they kept it from her. Either way, it's an indictment of this mayor. The March primary of 2026 is a little more than a year away. Tick-tock, Karen. Tick-tock.
In regard to my appeal, now I will set the record straight about the multiple false accusations. About the...
I don't know if she has Canadian descent. It's possible.
Multiple false accusations that were made against me.
This is why she did this. Oh, by the way, look at there were several members of the firefighters union there supporting her. And when do you have the union supporting management? This is not what you usually see. Usually they're at odds with each other. Look at LAUSD. But the firefighters union was there to support Crowley, and one of them wooed.
Multiple false accusations that were made against me.
Woo!
First, I did not refuse to conduct an after-action report. And let me be clear.
Oh, because Karen Bass said you did. You refused to have any accountability.
And let me be clear. This is a false accusation. During our discussions after an action after report, I should say, during our discussions about an after-action report.
Someone got the note cards a little mixed up. It's okay. She's nervous. She's throwing the entire mayor. She's throwing the mayor under the bus. She knows she's never getting her job back. So she's taking the time that she has to expose the fraud.
I advised the fire commissioners about my opinion that was best in regard to how to use LAFD resources. I said that the LAFD is not capable, nor do we have the proper resources to adequately conduct an after-action report for the Palisades fire due to the sheer magnitude, scope, and complexity of the incident. We are already understaffed, under-resourced, underfunded, and based on my knowledge of the LAFD's resources and capabilities, I recommended simply to collaborate with Governor Newsom's already selected and funded agency, Fire Safety Research Institute, or FSRI.
Someone was already doing the report. Somebody was already going to do it. But Karen Bass wanted a special report that Crowley could fall on her sword for in some sort of nonsensical loyalty to the mayor, and it's not happening.
Because they are.
This is all retaliation because Kristen Crowley admitted on live television that the budget was cut. And then Karen Bass said, no, it's not. And that doesn't work.
Because they are already conducting an independent analysis of the windstorm and fire events in the Los Angeles and Ventura counties. In contrast to the LAFD, FSRI has the capability to conduct a proper, thoroughly researched and analyzed after-action report and wildfire analysis. And the FSRI report will also be independent.
Something we would like to see. You don't want the fire department investigating themselves. I don't know why Karen Bass wanted that.
Which is so important as we figure out a way to move forward. This is what they're already being paid to do. Prior to me leaving the meeting, the fire commissioners agreed with my recommendation that FSRI is the best equipped to conduct the after-action report. FSRI will also be publishing its findings and recommendations like it did for the Lahaina fire that occurred in early August 2023 on the island of Maui. Now, my position has not changed, and I wholeheartedly support the need for a professional organization to conduct a full analysis of the Palisades fire. We owe that to the community, we owe that to the fire service, and that is the path forward. These steps are essential to improving response efforts, guiding recovery, and building a better and safer disaster resilience community for our future.
So there you go. Karen Bass's first allegation completely refuted and refuted eloquently. And this isn't just some appointee. Kristen Crowley has worked in this department for nearly 3 decades. So I'm glad that the union had her back. I'm glad that the fellow firefighters had her back. And I'm so disappointed that 13 members of the city council threw a 30-year civil servant under the bus because it made Karen Bass look bad. Karen Bass looked bad the second she got on the plane to Ghana, and there is no making an excuse about it. She knew it was going to be windy, and if she didn't, then she is incompetent and unable to do this job, and she's got to go.
Second, on the morning of the fire, I did not send home 1,000 firefighters who could have hopped on fire engine and fought the Palisades fire, nor did I leave 40 available fire engines unstaffed.
Really? Because that's what Karen Bass said in several interviews. You sent people home on a dangerous day. How dare you? And I wasn't even here to chide you about it because I was dancing the night away.
These are all false accusations.
When she got the first alert on her phone, did she have a cocktail in her hand? Was she dancing at the ball? None of it looks good for her. And scapegoating Kristen Crowley has not helped Karen Bass's political fortunes one bit, has not made the city of Los Angeles any safer than it was. What it is seeming like more and more and more is Karen Bass needed to punish somebody who talked out of turn. And every reason that she gave was nonsense. Because, of course, Karen Bass can't openly say it was retaliation because in the state of California, you cannot do that. And believe you me, there is going to be a huge lawsuit at the city of Los Angeles, and Kristen Crowley is going to collect. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. We're going to continue to play Kristen Crowley's speech to the LA City Council. You'll hear reaction from a few of the LA City Council members that were brave enough to speak. Most of them didn't. You'll definitely hear from the two that supported Kristen Crowley. But do you think the fire chief got railroaded here? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If you got to take sides in this fight, which side are you picking, Bass or Crowley? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Fired LAFD Chief Kristen Crowley made her case to the LA City Council today, refuting Karen Bass's every single one of her reasons for firing her. And the LA City Council said, screw you, 13-2. The only members that voted to support Kristen Crowley were Monica Rodriguez of the North Valley and Tracy Park of the Palisades and West Side. Do you think the fire chief got railroaded here? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Jack in Woodland Hills. Jack, hello.
Hello. I'm hoping that the people who voted against it, the people are paying attention to which city council members voted to railroad this fire chief who didn't deserve it. And they expressed their dismay at their performance at the ballot box.
I think that's something really important because they chose loyalty to Karen Bass over doing what's right, and they did it overwhelmingly.
You know, people talk about, oh, you got to have experience to be in government. You got to have experience to be a politician. How much experience does it take to do the right thing? And that's the end of my question. Take care. Thanks for a good show.
Thanks so much for the call, Jack. And you are so right about that. You can talk experience all you want. And speaking of experience, just because somebody has been in politics for a really long time does not mean they have experience running something, let alone a massive city government. So all the residents in Oakland that are trying to figure out who their next mayor is going to be, I hope you take the city of Los Angeles as a cautionary tale, because Karen Bass served in Congress for many, many years with Barbara Lee, who is now out of Congress and wants to be mayor. Do not put longtime members of Congress in charge of anything because they don't know how to do anything except run for office. She can do that. She cannot run a city. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Let's go to John in Sherman Oaks. John, hello.
Hello, how are you?
Doing great.
Yes, I absolutely think she was railroaded. It's so clear. Someone had to be the fall guy, and it was the chief, but it was absolutely a political move. We just lost such a great candidate in Rick Caruso. In that election. I don't know that anybody really knew who she was, but, she got the president coming out here to speak about her and the vice president and Obama. And so, who do you think people are going to vote for when you have that type of support from the Democratic Party? Just hope Caruso has the guts to run again.
I think we're all hoping something like that's going to happen next year. Thanks so much for the call, John. Appreciate it. And all those tricks might have worked the first time because she didn't have the experience of doing the job. Now we've seen what we've got. And in March of 2026, we're all going to get a chance to say if we want 4 more years of Karen Bass. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Let's go to Dale in Long Beach. Dale, hello.
Hello, Randy. Hey, I live in Long Beach and barely watch TV, and I knew all about the winds that was coming. But she got the shaft.
Everybody knew about the wind that was coming, and the fire chief told her staff that the wind was coming, and the National Weather Service told her staff that the wind is coming. So either Karen Bass ignores everything, including her phone and including the news, or everyone was so afraid of telling Cinderella that she couldn't go to the ball.
Do you really think if she was here, it would have made a difference? She spent all the money on the homeless people. We could have a top-notch fire department, but we don't.
No, it wouldn't have made much of a difference at all because I've seen how she's run the city. But she doesn't get to blame the fire chief for her going to a party.
I agree. Thank you, Randy.
Thanks so much for the call, Dale. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. LAFD Chief Kristen Crowley tried to appeal her firing today to the LA City Council unsuccessfully, 13-2. But in her speech, she refuted every single one of Karen Bass's claims with backup. So Karen Bass had no actual reason to fire her, not that she needed one, but every single reason that Karen Bass gave was a lie. Do you think the fire chief got railroaded today? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com. And you can go find the podcast of this show real easily by going to kabc.com/newsblitz, and all the buttons to subscribe are right there. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC. LAFD Chief Kristen Crowley made her case to the LA City Council as to why they should appeal her firing from Karen Bass. Karen Bass made several claims when she fired Kristen Crowley that she didn't want to do an after-action report, that she sent 1,000 firefighters home, and that she didn't tell Karen Bass it was windy. And Kristen Crowley, in an 11-minute speech on the floor of City Hall, refuted every single one of those claims with several details. Didn't matter. The LA City Council voted 13-2 to uphold Karen Bass's firing of the fire chief. Your thoughts on all this? Do you think that Kristen Crowley got railroaded today? 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Linda in Torrance. Linda, hello.
Hey, Randy. Yes, she absolutely got railroaded by the city council today. She should have gotten her appeal. Point number one, this shows Karen Bass's incompetence again, firing the fire chief when she had all of the receipts and she knew it. She should have first fired the DWP CEO for her incompetence. Then she should fire her emergency manager for waiting so long to call a level 1 fire and emergency. Between the emergency manager and LADWP, they should have called in mutual aid to be able to give fire and water support. They are incompetent. The fact Karen Bass fired Crowley is ridiculous. She went after the wrong person, and it shows she's incompetent.
It shows that she has terrible political instincts because this has only bit her in the ass every single day since it happened and has not made the story go away and has not made anybody forget that she abandoned the city to go to a party in Ghana.
And what's even worse is she's up for a recall now. The recall's spinning. It's going to happen. And when she's gone, we're going to now have to pay the wrongful termination of Crowley. I mean, it was dumb also on the city council members to follow suit and play political games. What's right is right, and this firing was wrong.
You're totally right about that. That lawsuit is going to happen, and we're going to have to pay through the nose because we did not have the back of a 30-year civil servant and instead said, well, Karen Bass, we can't have her look any worse than she does right now. Linda, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Let's go to Wayne in Long Beach. Wayne, hello.
Hello. Thanks for taking my call, Randy. I think the city attorney, on at least 2 occasions in the meeting today, made the point that Karen Bass has to do has the power to do this without any evidence. But she made the mistake of presenting the evidence that is clearly wrong. She should have just said nothing and fired the chief. Now, like just like the last caller, we'll be on the hook for the wrongful termination. And if I could make one more point, I build steel homes that do not burn, and we are overwhelmed with wonderful new customers in the Altadena area. But we will not take one step into the Palisades until they've come out publicly and made this recall happen of Karen Bass. We will not help the Palisades until they get rid of her.
Well, the recall is qualified for signature gathering, so we're going to see what happens with that, Wayne. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. And he makes a really good point. Karen Bass had every right to just fire the chief because she can, because they serve at the pleasure of the mayor. Don't need a reason. She gave a whole bunch of reasons that turned out to be BS. And you know who that reminds me of? Oh, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Former Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao. Sheng Tao, her first official act in office was to fire the Oakland police chief. And she claimed that she did it because he had messed with some internal investigations. And it turns out that was a bunch of BS. She had actually fired him for speaking up against a corrupt overseer from the federal government that was keeping them in a federal oversight because this guy was making 7 figures a year. And Sheng Tao didn't like that, so she fired him. Didn't have to give a reason, but she gave a BS reason, and Lauren Armstrong is in the middle of a lawsuit right now with the city of Oakland. The same terrible politicians throughout the state keep having the same terrible ideas. Let's go to Tom and Sylmar. Tom, hello. Tom.
Hey, hi, hey. I'm going to talk about the policy of the fire department. They wait for to grow big, and then there's nobody trying to put it off. We don't see any airplane, any air power coming up. Nothing. Like all those fire trucks, they were sitting in the parking lot and letting the houses burn. This is the policy of the fire department, not only in Los Angeles, apparently in all over the world. Look what's happening in China, in Japan, the same thing. In Carolina, the same thing. That's the policy of the fire department. They let the fire to grow big, and then they start crying. Now, coming to the fire chief, she is in charge. She is in charge. If you go with your logic, blaming the mayor, why don't you blame the governor? Why don't you blame the president? She had her day. That's the civil service rules. She lost. And in fact, it was a real, true decision by the mayor. I'm not defending the mayor. No, I'm not. But again, the fire chief, she's the first one in charge. She is the one in charge, and again, it's not only her. I mean, in this situation was her, but the policy of the fire department all over. You look at the videos. You see the fire on one side in the beginning when in the Malibu started, and the guy had the hose in the other side. Nothing to do with the fire. The fire is the other side. So that's my opinion.
Well, you're welcome to bring it, and thanks so much for the call. And there were a lot of challenges that day, but I don't think I necessarily agree that it's the policy of the fire departments all across the world to let these fires get out of control. I mean, you're talking about some of the bravest people who literally put their lives on the line every single day. Let's go to Adam in Huntington Beach. Adam, hello.
Hi, I've got 6 points. I'll try to make them quick.
How about 3?
The mayor going to Africa is within normal limits. If the governor can travel and be absent and there be little outrage, so can any public employee. The governor demonstrated a precedent. The mayor behaved within that example. We don't get to be selective in our outrage. The previous mayor needs to be blamed. The previous mayors need to be blamed and their interventions evaluated. Not this mayor. She hasn't been on the job that long. Also, the fire chief is being disingenuous. The fire department is not underfunded. The fire department employees are choosing to spend their finances on enormous pensions, high salaries, on benefits, on paid time off, cut wages and benefits, and the fire department will still be able to double their amount of people as well as repair vehicles. I accuse the fire department of hiring their kids, their relatives, and friends and being barriers in other ways to hiring. And I believe the mayor should be working 7 days a week. You don't get a break. The mayor's break from work is doing different work, just like what non-public employees do every day. Thank you.
Hey, he made all his points. Thanks so much for the call, Adam. Appreciate it. Let's go to Michael in Palos Verdes. Michael, hello.
Yes, how you doing, Randy?
Doing great.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that your show and all the shows on KABC announced 2 days before the fire that there were going to be hurricane strength winds. So I don't know how she didn't know. That's all I wanted
and it
to
wasn't
say,
just
that it
us.
was broadcasted all through the day.
You're totally right about that, Michael. Thanks so much for the call. And it wasn't just us. It was every single radio station, including ones that play music. They have weather reports. It was every TV station. It was on the National Weather Service. It was even tweeted out by Karen Bass. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. More of your calls up next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's go back to the phones. Go to Richard in Tarzana. Richard, hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Thank you for your show.
Thanks for listening.
I think that these events, unless Bass can pull a huge rabbit out of a hat, this has all done irreparable harm to her. In part because it's very immature to have to play the blame game. I think that can be a mistake, especially at this level. Everyone knows that someone has to be the blame. And unless all the public does think that Crowley should be blamed only, people are going to start saying, well, shouldn't we blame the mayor to some extent? And I think that'll hurt her.
I think it is done. I think it's hurt her politically massively, and I don't think people are going to forget this when the ballots go out next March. Thanks for the call, Richard. Appreciate it. If you're on hold, stay on hold. It's a lightning round of phones next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's time for a lightning round. I've only got a little bit time left, so if I go to you, you've only got about 30 seconds. Make your case. Let's go to Richard in Santa Monica. Richard, hello.
How you doing, Randy? Great show. Like I said, I don't know why Crowley showed up. She put the handcuffs on her. Looking at this district, I don't know why Tracy Park even defended that, because technically, where's the preventive? Where is the special? She's the fire chief, and actually putting on that uniform is automatically going to heaven. I'm sure that every fire chief, people that know to work for the fire department, you save lives. And here you had this. Where's the preventive stuff? Where's all the? You got Caruso saved his property. You got one house that could have been saved by just her being preventive. Maybe he should have been blamed for spending extra money, but hey, it's horrible over there. And Tracy, come on.
There you go, Richard. Thanks for the call. Let's go to Bill in La Cañada. Bill, hello.
Randy, I know it's a tight fit and it's full of corruption and lies, but put yourself inside Karen Bass's brain for a minute. Okay, the public sees her negligence on water supply, the broken fire hydrants, the homeless encampments that won't go away. What possible motivation would you have as Karen Bass to tell the truth about anything? The public already hates her. Why not keep lying about your enemies like Crowley?
You might as well. There you go, Bill. Let's go to Gordon in Torrance. Gordon, hello.
Hey, Randy. Great show. Basically, I think that Crowley is a DEI hire. I think they should both go, but Crowley, we forgot, that all she was concerned about was hiring the same-sex kind of persuasion.
Well, there you go. Thanks so much for the call, Gordon. I will say she did work for that department for 30 years. Let's go to Sean in Pico Rivera. Sean, hello.
Hey, Randy, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, real quick. Listen, so Crowley gets fired according to Bass because she sent 1,000 firefighters home. Well, what were those people supposed to do? She saved the city probably about $300,000 because those 1,000 firefighters, they had nothing to work with. They would have did what the other ones were doing on TV, which was watching everything burn. That's number one. Number two, when that fire went off on Tuesday morning, it was a 5-minute fire. Who's responsible for dispatching the super scoopers and the helicopters? The winds were coming, but at 10 o'clock in the morning, that Tuesday morning, that smoke went straight up in the air. They had an abundance of water in the Pacific Ocean. Who's responsible for dispatching super scoopers? That if there were were more super scoopers, 5 or 6 that would have been out in 5 minutes. No one's talking about that, but you heard it here first, and you heard it from me.
Exactly, Sean. We'll find the answers hopefully someday. Joe in Santa Monica, you get the last word on this. Joe, go.
I'm very wary about a recall. I don't know who's going to be chosen. If we could vote for somebody, I don't know how it works. But
well, let me say this, and thanks for the call, Joe. The recall, even if they got all the signatures collected, it probably wouldn't go on the ballot until March of next year, which is when the primary is. So someone who wants to run, now's the time to run. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC.